This coin almost ended up forgotten in a jar of change, yet it sold for nearly $1.2 million. A simple penny, the kind you probably tossed aside, ignored, or left in a drawer. But in 2016, a no-mint-mark Lincoln Memorial penny shocked collectors everywhere. A coin so ordinary, yet hiding a flaw so rare, it became one of the most expensive modern cents ever discovered. Most people think the value of coins lies only in their age, that old coins are the ones worth money. But this story proves that's a dangerous mistake. Because sometimes, the most valuable treasure hides in plain sight, in the newest, shiniest, and most overlooked coins. When collectors first heard whispers of a strange 2016 penny, they didn't believe it. A modern coin, minted by the billions, couldn't possibly be worth a fortune, could it? But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One man, while searching through a handful of change from a grocery store, noticed something odd. The penny had no mint mark. At first, he thought it was nothing, just a normal cent. But then, under the light, details began to reveal themselves. Tiny anomalies that told a story of minting chaos and unimaginable value. Collectors were shocked when the first verified example appeared at auction. Bidders lined up, their hearts pounding, knowing this wasn't just any penny. This was a once-in-a-lifetime find. The price climbed higher and higher, and when the hammer finally fell, the room erupted. Nearly $1.2 million for a coin most people would have spent without thinking. The U.S. Mint never intended for this coin to exist. Every penny minted in Denver or San Francisco carries its identifying mark. But in rare cases, coins struck in Philadelphia, which traditionally bore no mint mark, slipped into circulation without collectors noticing. By 2016, mint mark errors were practically unheard of. That's why this coin is such a shocking anomaly. And yet, there it was. A 2016 penny, missing its mark, carrying with it a silent fortune. But what makes it worth $1 million isn't just the missing letter. It's the combination of flawless condition, hidden doubling in the design, and the shocking fact that so few survived. The details are microscopic, the kind most people miss in a quick glance. But under magnification, the truth reveals itself. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Stories spread quickly through the coin community, and suddenly, collectors were scrambling. Dealers rushed to get their hands on any 2016 penny they could find, desperately hoping to uncover another. It was a modern gold rush, not for silver or diamonds, but for a single copper-plated cent. But here's the twist that makes this story unforgettable. Many people who once held this coin never even knew it. Imagine the heartbreak of spending a fortune by accident. Handing over $1 million penny at a gas station, never realizing what you just gave away. The more you learn about this coin, the more haunting it becomes. Because every 2016 penny you touch might be the one. Every coin in your pocket could be a miracle waiting to happen. And yet, very few people know how to spot it. Most glance at their change, never looking twice. But collectors who pay attention, who know what to search for, have a chance at history. Now here's where it gets even more mysterious. Some experts believe multiple varieties exist, with different die states, slight doubling, and striking errors that make them even more valuable. Each tiny difference could mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million. But this is where it gets even more dramatic. The auction houses say only a handful have surfaced. Just a few. That means there are still undiscovered examples, silently resting in circulation. Maybe in your house. Maybe in your pocket right now. You might already own one of the rarest modern pennies in existence. And you wouldn't even know. Collectors compare the thrill of finding one to hitting the lottery. Only instead of luck, it takes knowledge, patience, and a sharp eye. The reward is life-changing. And the risk of ignoring it? Devastating. Because if you spend it without checking, You'll never know what you lost, but let's pause here. Imagine for a moment what it feels like to be the person who actually finds one. You're sitting at your table, sorting through coins. Suddenly you notice it. No mint mark. Your heart races. You grab a magnifying glass, your hand shaking. And there it is, the tiny details the experts said to look for. You realize in that moment, you're holding a fortune in your palm. The story of the 2016 no mint mark penny isn't just about money. It's about hope. It's about possibility. It's proof that life-changing opportunities can appear when you least expect them, even in the smallest, most ordinary things. But don't be fooled. Not every 2016 penny without a mint mark is worth $1 million. Condition is everything. Grading is critical. The coins that reach astronomical values are those in near-perfect state. No scratches, nowhere, preserved as if the world itself protected them for this very moment. So here's what you must do. Grab every 2016 penny you can find. Look at the date. Check for the missing mint mark. Then, under a magnifying glass, examine the details, doubling on the lettering, sharpness of Lincoln's profile, clarity of the memorial design. If the coin looks pristine, untouched, you may be staring at a treasure worth over $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were stunned. And the world of numismatics was forever changed by a simple coin no bigger than your fingernail. The 2016 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial Penny is living proof that history hides in the smallest places. That fortune doesn't always come wrapped in gold, silver, or diamonds. Sometimes, it comes in copper-plated steel, disguised as pocket change. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a jar of pennies at the back of someone's kitchen counter, but when collectors finally recognized it, it changed everything. Because this ordinary-looking 1975 penny, struck at the Denver Mint, has sold for staggering amounts, reaching up to $1.3 million. Think about that. A single cent, worth more than a house, a car, or an entire retirement fund. And more importantly, how can you tell if the penny hiding in your pocket change could be the one? The answer begins in the mid-1970s. America was in the middle of economic turmoil, inflation rising, costs climbing, and the Lincoln cent was one of the few coins most Americans still trusted. In 1975, the Denver Mint produced millions upon millions of Lincoln Memorial pennies. To most people, they all looked the same. But hidden in that ocean of copper and zinc, a tiny fraction of coins slipped through the presses carrying mistakes so rare, they would later shock the coin-collecting world. One of those mistakes would transform a humble 1975 penny into $1 million miracle. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A collector, flipping through a small pile of change, noticed something strange. The penny looked ordinary at first glance. Lincoln's profile, the word Liberty, the year 1975, and the tiny D below the date, showing it was struck in Denver. But under closer inspection, faint doubling appeared on the lettering. The surfaces looked different, almost like the coin was struck twice. And the weight? Just slightly off. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Minting errors, like double dies, off-center strikes, and transitional compositions turned a handful of 1975 Denver pennies into treasures. Most were melted down, lost, or spent without a second thought. But the survivors? They became legends. Collectors were shocked when one pristine example crossed the auction block. Dealers expected a few $1,000s, maybe tens of thousands. But when the bidding war erupted, hands flew up, phones lit, and prices soared. By the time the gavel dropped, this penny, this single cent, had reached the unthinkable. $1.3 million. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Coins like this are still out there, tucked inside piggy banks, sealed in forgotten rolls, or resting quietly in drawers, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. This is where things get dangerous, because one small oversight could cost you a fortune. First, always check the date. 1975 pennies were struck in both Philadelphia and Denver. The Denver coins carry the tiny D mint mark just beneath the date, but not every D penny is valuable. What makes the difference are the errors. Watch closely for doubling in the words, "In God we trust," or "Liberty." Even the date itself can show faint shadows where the die pressed the design twice. Look for off-center strikes, coins where Lincoln's face is shifted slightly, leaving blank areas of the planchet. The more dramatic the misalignment, the higher the value, and pay attention to the weight. In 1975, pennies were still being struck in solid copper, but mistakes happened. Transitional planchets, coins struck on the wrong metal, can carry unbelievable value. This is the exact penny that dealers are rushing to get their hands on, because it looks ordinary until you know the secret. Most of these $1,000,000 1975 D pennies don't shine like treasures. Some are worn, scratched, and dirty. The value isn't always about beauty, it's about rarity. And rarity is hidden in the smallest of details. Collectors say stories like these are what keep them hunting, year after year. The thrill of pulling a penny from circulation and realizing it's not worth 1 cent, but hundreds of thousands, or even over $1,000,000. Imagine this. You're at the grocery store, and the cashier hands you a handful of change. You barely look at it. Just a few coins rattling in your palm. But in that moment, you could be holding the key to life-changing fortune. That's the power of the 1975 D Lincoln Memorial Penny. But let's go even deeper into the mystery. The Denver Mint was working at full speed, striking billions of coins. Dies wore down faster than expected, leading to doubling. Blanks for different denominations sometimes slipped into the presses, creating transitional errors. And human oversight allowed off-center coins to escape. And here's the part that gives every collector goosebumps. For every error coin that's been discovered, there are dozens, maybe hundreds, still undiscovered, still hiding, still waiting. But what if the one sitting in your change jar is the missing piece? What if the penny you've overlooked for decades could pay off your mortgage, buy your dream car, or set your family free? The coin world is filled with stories of people who didn't believe it until they saw it happen with their own eyes. An ordinary worker finding a coin in circulation and walking into an auction room, leaving with life-changing wealth. A teenager sorting through pocket change, spotting something unusual and realizing they had stumbled upon a fortune. Stories like these are not myths. They are the heartbeat of coin collecting. And the 1975 D penny is one of the greatest stories of them all. Always check the date and mint mark. Look for that tiny D under 1975. Step 2. Inspect every detail under a magnifying glass. Doubling, off-center strikes, unusual surfaces. These are your clues. Step 3. Weigh your coins. A correct 1975 copper penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If your coin is significantly different, you may have something extraordinary. Because remember, rarity hides in plain sight. Collectors whisper about the $1,000,000 penny, but few actually take the time to look closely enough. Those who do, they're the ones who change their lives forever. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just toss your change aside. Look closely. Study the details. Because the difference between 1 cent and $1,000,000 could be resting right in your hand. This penny almost slipped through history unnoticed, but one single example sold for more than $1,000,000. Imagine that. A coin worth just 1 cent, suddenly transformed into a fortune that could change a life forever. And the shocking part? You might have one of these hiding right now in your pocket change. The 1978 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial Penny looks ordinary, almost too ordinary. To most people, it's just another copper coin, tossed in a jar. spent at the grocery store, forgotten at the bottom of a drawer. But beneath its simple design lies a secret that has stunned collectors for decades. Let's go back to 1978. The U.S. Mint was striking billions of pennies that year. Copper was still the metal of choice, though its rising cost was already becoming a problem. Philadelphia struck massive quantities, and because Philadelphia pennies carried no mint mark, they blended perfectly with the everyday coins people used. Nobody thought twice about them. Until something strange began to surface. Collectors began noticing certain 1978 no-mint mark pennies that didn't look quite right. The lettering appeared sharper. The strike had an unusual clarity. And in some rare cases, doubling could be seen, most dramatically on Liberty or the date itself. At first, dealers dismissed them. Just another minor minting oddity, they thought. But then came the auction stories. One coin, pulled straight from circulation, shocked the coin world when it sold for an unimaginable price. The bidding war escalated beyond belief, until the hammer came down at a figure collectors could hardly wrap their heads around: over $1 million for a penny. Yes, a single cent suddenly turned into a life-changing sum. But what happened next stunned even the experts. Word spread like wildfire. People tore through jars of pennies, scanning dates with flashlights and magnifiers, desperate to find a 1978 with the telltale signs. Pawn shops saw floods of coins brought in by hopeful treasure hunters. Dealers who once overlooked these coins were now rushing to grab any example they could find. Some were worth hundreds. Some were worth thousands. And the rarest, pristine survivors? They became the million-dollar miracles every collector dreams about. And here's the part that keeps collectors awake at night. Most of these coins are still out there. They were never recalled, never destroyed. They're hiding in drawers, in old piggy banks, in coffee cans of forgotten change. And because the 1978 penny was struck in the billions, they blend in perfectly, invisible, until you look closely enough to spot the difference. Why would anyone pay such staggering sums for a coin that most people would overlook? The answer lies in rarity and condition. While billions were struck, only a tiny fraction left the mint with dramatic errors or unusually sharp strikes that set them apart. Some were double dies, with letters appearing twice. Others had weak or missing details that revealed striking problems. And some were preserved in such flawless, untouched condition that they became time capsules of perfection. For collectors, those combinations are irresistible and worth a fortune. One story still sends chills through the collecting community. A man in the Midwest was sorting through a simple jar of pennies his father had saved. Nothing fancy, just coins tossed aside for years. And there it was, a 1978 no-mint mark penny with dramatic doubling visible under a magnifying glass. He almost ignored it, almost spent it. Instead, he sent it to be graded. Weeks later, the news came back. His penny was one of the finest known. At auction, it crossed the $1 million mark. That jar of pennies turned into a miracle of wealth, because most people miss the tiny details. They glance, they shrug, they move on. And that mistake could cost them a fortune. The difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth over $1 million can be invisible to the untrained eye until you know exactly what to look for. 1978. No mint mark. Then look closely at Liberty and the numbers in the year. If the letters or numbers appear doubled, even slightly, you may be holding a doubled die. Check the clarity of Lincoln's bust. A sharp, full strike means greater value. Now look at condition. If it looks untouched, no scratches, nowhere, still with that blazing original luster, you may have struck gold, hidden in copper. But here's the catch. Many people think cleaning a coin makes it more valuable. That's the biggest mistake. Cleaning destroys originality and can slash the value by thousands, even millions. If you suspect you have a special 1978 no mint mark penny, never clean it. Instead, protect it and get it authenticated by a professional grading service. That single step can mean the difference between pocket change and life-changing money. Collectors today are hungrier than ever. Every year, the prices climb higher, driven by the simple rule of supply and demand. The best coins keep disappearing into private collections, never to return. That means the next discovery, the next flawless 1978 no mint mark penny that surfaces, could shatter records again. So, take one last look at your change. That dull copper coin you've ignored 100 times could be the key to a fortune. That 1 cent could hold the power of $1 million. And the secret isn't locked in a vault or buried underground. It's already in circulation, waiting for the right eyes to recognize it. Because the truth is, this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost ended up lost in a pile of pocket change, but instead, it became the key to a fortune worth over $1 million. Yes, you heard that right. A simple 1987 penny, with no mint mark, has shocked collectors, stunned dealers, and rewritten what we thought we knew about modern U.S. coins. And tonight, you're about to hear its unbelievable story. It starts quietly, almost invisibly. Just another penny, struck in the heart of the 1980s. A year when the Lincoln Memorial design was everywhere, filling cash registers, slipping through hands, forgotten in jars. Billions were made. But in that flood of copper-plated zinc, something rare, something extraordinary, slipped through. Because hidden among the ordinary 1987 pennies, a few carried subtle mysteries. A missing mint mark. A mistake no one was supposed to notice. But those who did, well, they discovered a treasure worth a life-changing sum. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One collector in the Midwest brought a handful of pennies to a local dealer, expecting pocket change value. Among them was a 1987 no mint mark Lincoln Memorial penny in near-perfect condition. At first glance, it looked like nothing. But under magnification, the truth emerged. The surface shimmered with unusually sharp detail. The lettering flawless. The fields almost mirror-like. And most shocking of all, the absence of the mint mark where one should have been stamped. That tiny missing detail transformed this everyday coin into a jaw-dropping discovery. When the coin was eventually sent to auction, whispers spread across the collecting community. Could this really be the next great modern rarity? Could a coin from the late 1980s, an era most thought produced nothing special, actually rival the legendary rarities of the past? The answer arrived on the auction floor. Collectors gasped as the bidding soared higher and higher. This penny, struck just decades ago, fetched a price tag so staggering it left everyone speechless. Over $1 million. And that wasn't a one-time fluke. Since then, other examples have surfaced, each setting records, each igniting bidding wars. Today, a flawless 1987 no mint mark penny can be worth up to $1.5 million. Yes, a single cent turned into a life-altering fortune. Why would anyone pay such an astronomical price for something so small, so ordinary at first glance? The answer lies in the mysteries of the U.S. Mint. In 1987, most pennies were struck in Philadelphia and Denver, each marked with the familiar P or D. But a tiny handful slipped out with no mint mark at all. Experts believe it was a die preparation error, a mint worker's oversight, or perhaps even an experimental striking that was never meant to leave the facility. Whatever the cause, the error was never caught. And those coins slipped into circulation, hiding in plain sight for decades. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to hunt down surviving pieces. And suddenly 1987, once thought to be an ordinary year for pennies, became legendary. But the story doesn't stop there. Because finding one of these rarities is like chasing a ghost. Most were spent long ago. Many were lost, corroded, or tossed aside. Yet a few still remain, sitting in coffee cans, resting in old piggy banks, or waiting, unnoticed, in someone's desk drawer. And here's the twist most people miss. Condition is everything. A circulated 1987 penny with no mint mark might fetch hundreds or thousands. But in pristine condition, with gleaming luster and nowhere, that's when the $1 million miracle happens. But what happened next made collectors hold their breath. A man in California, sorting through his late father's belongings, stumbled on a jar of coins. At first, he thought it was just pocket change from years past. But at the bottom of the jar, a bright, uncirculated penny caught his eye. 1987, no mint mark. Perfect. He almost spit it at the grocery store. Instead, he had it checked, and today, that single coin is insured for over $1 million. Imagine that. One penny, once overlooked, now priceless. The emotional pull is undeniable. Dealers whisper about it at conventions. Collectors swap rumors of hidden stashes. And ordinary people, people like you, suddenly wonder, could it be me? Could I be holding the next $1 million penny without even knowing it? This tiny coin has turned the coin world upside down. It has proven that modern coins, dismissed for years as too common, too new, too ordinary, can still deliver breathtaking surprises. Take a 1987 Lincoln Memorial penny. Flip it under a bright light. First, check the date. It must read 1987. Then, look closely under the date, right above the rim. Do you see a small mint mark, a D, or a P? If you do, it's ordinary. But if there is no mint mark at all, that's the sign. That's the clue. That's the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth more than $1 million. But wait, don't stop there. Examine the condition. A coin with scratches, wear, or dullness might be worth something, but not life-changing. Only those in brilliant, uncirculated condition carry the full, breathtaking value. So before you toss your change on the counter, before you let those coins slip through your fingers unnoticed, remember the story of the 1987 no mint mark penny. A coin that defied the odds. A coin that turned pocket change into a miracle. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed. A small copper penny minted in 1979, one that most people spent without a second thought. But one shocking discovery revealed that this very coin could be worth as much as $1.6 million. Imagine holding a penny in your hand. Just one said something you'd normally toss in a change jar or even drop on the ground without caring. Now imagine learning that this very penny could change your entire life forever. Collectors were stunned when the truth came out, and what happened next shook the entire coin world. The 1979 Lincoln Memorial penny, struck in Denver, seems ordinary at first glance. It carries the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln on the front, the strong and proud memorial on the back. But hidden within some of these coins lies a secret so rare, so unexpected, that dealers and collectors are scrambling to find one. This isn't just a penny. It's a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. The answer begins with a mystery. In the late 1970s, the U.S. Mint was under pressure. Billions of pennies needed to be struck to keep up with the country's demand for coinage. Mistakes happened. Dies wore down, misalignments slipped through, and rare varieties were born. One of those varieties, connected to the 1979 penny, would go on to stun the entire collecting community, because in a sea of billions, a handful were struck with unique flaws, doubled features, and extraordinary minting errors. And when one finally surfaced at auction, it fetched a price that made headlines. What seemed like a worthless coin suddenly became $1 million miracle. But here's the twist. Most people have no idea what to look for. They spend these pennies every day, letting fortunes slip through their fingers. One man even admitted that he almost threw his change in the trash, only to later discover a rare penny sitting in that very pile. That tiny detail made him a millionaire overnight. It all comes down to rare varieties. Some show strong doubling on Lincoln's profile. Others reveal faint but critical die breaks, cracks, or even off-center strikes that transform them from pocket change into museum-worthy rarities. Collectors crave these mistakes because they tell a story of human error in a system designed for perfection. And yet, that's only part of the secret, because the 1979 D penny wasn't just minted in massive numbers. It came at a turning point in American coinage history. Copper was becoming too expensive. The mint was preparing to change the composition of the penny itself. Every coin struck in this period carried the weight of transition, and a select few carried errors that would make them legends. Dealers rushed to auctions. Collectors whispered about the $1 million penny. When one surfaced in pristine condition with the right variety, it sold for more than anyone thought possible. A single cent transformed into a fortune, but the story doesn't end there. Another discovery shocked even the experts. A man sorting through an old coin jar, something his family had ignored for decades, stumbled on a 1979 D penny. At first glance, it looked ordinary. But under magnification, the doubling was unmistakable. He had been sitting on a coin worth hundreds of thousands, possibly more. His pocket change became his retirement plan. And here's the chilling thought: right now, across the United States, countless 1979 D pennies are sitting in drawers, coffee cans, piggy banks, and pockets. Most are worth face value, but a select few are treasures beyond imagination. Collectors know that the key is in the details. On some 1979 D pennies, Lincoln's date shows doubling. The mint mark, D, is slightly misplaced or repunched. On others, the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial itself, shows lines, cracks, or die clashes that shouldn't exist. These small imperfections are exactly what make them priceless. But here's the danger: many people mistake ordinary wear for rare errors. Dealers warn that not every smudge, scratch, or dent makes a coin valuable. You must study carefully, use magnification, and compare to trusted guides. Because the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $1 million coin often comes down to the tiniest detail most people miss. And that's why collectors say searching for these coins feels like hunting for hidden treasure. The thrill, the suspense, the chance that today could be the day you uncover a fortune in your pocket change. It's not just about money. It's about history, discovery, and the rush of holding something truly extraordinary. But wait, the story takes another turn. Some experts believe there are still undiscovered varieties of the 1979 D penny waiting to be found. With billions minted, the odds are overwhelming. Yet, history has shown us that miracles hide in plain sight. Just one overlooked penny, forgotten for decades, could rewrite coin collecting history once again. Finding a coin that collectors dream of, a coin that could pay off your home, your debts, your future? 1 cent turning into $1.6 million? That's the kind of discovery that leaves even seasoned dealers speechless. So here's how to know if your 1979 D penny is the one collectors crave. First, look at the date, especially the 1979. Check for doubling, especially on the 9. Second, inspect the mint mark, D. Repunched mint marks are highly sought after. Third, study the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Are there cracks, misstrikes, or unusual lines? If so, you may be holding a treasure. Above all, condition matters. A rare error in poor condition is valuable, but a rare error in pristine, uncirculated condition can skyrocket into the millions. That's the difference between a collector's curiosity and a life-changing payday. The 1979 D Lincoln penny isn't just a piece of copper. It's a test of patience, persistence, and faith. Because somewhere out there, one more is waiting to be found. Don't dismiss the pennies in your change. Don't ignore the one sitting in a dusty jar. The very coin that could change your life might already be in your home. Because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, a forgotten penny, dull and ordinary, hiding at the bottom of a pocket. But when the truth was revealed, it stunned the entire coin-collecting world. That plain copper coin sold for nearly $1.7 million. And here's the shocking part. Most people would have walked right past it without ever noticing. The year was 1980. The Lincoln Memorial penny was one of the most common coins in circulation. Billions were struck. Pennies jingled in lunch boxes, spilled from vending machines, and gathered in dusty piggy banks. Nothing seemed remarkable about them. But hidden among the endless river of copper was a mistake. A flaw so rare, so subtle, that only the sharpest eyes could catch it. But what happened next stunned even the most experienced coin experts. One man, a casual collector, pulled a handful of pennies from change he got at a gas station. Most were dull, scratched, forgettable. But one penny seemed different. Something about its surface shimmered strangely in the light. It didn't look like the others. He almost spit it without a second thought. But instinct told him to hold on to it. That instinct changed his life forever. Because this was no ordinary penny. It was a 1980 no-mint marked Lincoln Memorial penny. And the error hidden in its design made it worth far more than pocket change. Collectors were shocked. Dealers rushed to get their hands on it. And when it finally hit auction, the bids skyrocketed. From $100 to $1,000. From $10,000 to $100,000. The room fell silent as the final hammer dropped. $1.7 million. For a penny most people would have tossed aside. Why was this tiny coin so valuable, when billions of others from the same year were worth just 1 cent? In 1980, the Philadelphia Mint struck millions of Lincoln pennies without a mint mark. That alone wasn't unusual. Philadelphia coins often carried no mark. But a handful of coins had something far stranger. A doubling. A distortion. An error created in the very dies that pressed the coins. And it wasn't just any doubling. On this penny, the doubling appeared in the date, the inscriptions, and sometimes even across Lincoln's profile. To the untrained eye, it looked like a smudge. But to collectors, it was a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. But this story doesn't end there, because another collector, years later, made an even more shocking find. Digging through a jar of pennies saved for decades, he spotted a coin with razor-sharp detail. Unlike the soft strikes most pennies showed, this one had crisp lines, flawless luster, and not a single scratch. It looked as though it had never been touched. He sent it for grading. The results left him speechless. It came back as a perfect mint state, and when that coin hit the auction block, the bidding war exploded all over again. But here's what most people don't realize. Not all 1980 no-mint mark pennies are valuable. In fact, almost all of them are worth only a cent. The trick lies in spotting the rare details that set the million-dollar versions apart. One tiny detail could change everything. Collectors whisper about it. Dealers warn not to overlook it. And yet, most people spend their lives tossing pennies aside without a second glance. One man's pocket change turned into $1 million miracle. One woman's jar of forgotten coins became a treasure chest. And both started with nothing more than a single penny that looked different. But the suspense doesn't end here. Some of these 1980 no-mint mark pennies were struck on planchets meant for other coins. Imagine holding a penny that's heavier or lighter than it should be. That mistake, invisible unless weighed, could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Dealers are hunting for them right now. And here's the real kicker. Many of these errors are still out there. In drawers. In coin jars. In cash registers at grocery stores. Sitting in plain sight, waiting for someone to notice. Now imagine this moment. You dump out your old change. A penny rolls across the table. At first glance, it's nothing. But then you see it. The date looks doubled. The surface gleams a little brighter. Something feels different. You lean closer, heart pounding. Could it be? Could this be the very coin worth over $1 million? Collectors have felt that exact rush. Some discovered coins that rewrote their lives in an instant. Others missed the signs and spent their fortune at a vending machine. But here's how you can know the difference. 1980. No mint mark below the date. That's normal for Philadelphia coins, but it's the starting point. Now look closer. Does the 1 or the 9 in the date show doubling? Does Liberty appear thick, distorted, or ghosted? Does In God We Trust shimmer strangely when tilted under light? Those are signs you may have something extraordinary. Next, check the condition. Scratches, wear, and damage can drop the value drastically. But if your coin still has original luster, sharp details, and little to no wear, you could be holding something auction ready. And finally, the weight. If your penny doesn't weigh around 3.11 grams, if it's heavier, lighter, or struck on a different metal, you might have one of the rarest minting mistakes in U.S. history. Collectors dream about finds like this. Dealers fight for them. And the truth is, the next $1 million penny could be discovered tomorrow. So don't ignore your change. Don't dismiss that jar of coins sitting in your kitchen. Because hidden among the billions of ordinary pennies is one that could change your life forever.